This week on Supercars Torque, apparently being a cripple makes you go faster. After what went down over the weekend, I wonder who's going to be the next one to smash a collarbone to see if they can get some better results for the year. First off, though, I'm going to cover off some news for the week, and then we'll talk about the Shane van Gisbergen masterclass that happened over the weekend. We did see some new colours over the weekend. Todd Hazelwood was back in the Cub Cadet colours that we last saw at Bathurst last year. Looks the same as what it did at Bathurst, so nothing too much to report there. Will Brown had Ausland Group Solutions on the car. I had no idea what was going on there, so I looked it up. Essentially, it seems to be a security and cleaning kind of services company. I'm trying to think. There was someone a few years ago that sponsored Wilson, of course. Seems to be a bit of a similar idea to Wilson, I suppose. That will be the colours for Will at Sandown, Tasmania, Tailem Bend and the Gold Coast. It's not a bad looking car. The design could be a little bit clearer, but I guess it's not bad for what they're working with. The standout of the weekend, though, Dave Reynolds, that Penrite car. I did criticise their paint job as being a bit too busy for this year, but that one was outstanding. It just looked brilliant. That's how the car should look for the whole year. Let's not have it just as a special. Have that as a full year livery, and the other one that was a special one that we had for the Bathurst 500. Leave it as the good one. It was also finally confirmed that Anton De Pasquale will run number 11 for the rest of the year. Big backstory about how he used to run 11 and blah, 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 Larry Perkins and whatever. It was cool to see the little handover presentation, though, from Larry Perkins to Dick with the number. I don't think, no one can run the 05 because that's retired because of Peter Brock. I don't think the 11 was actually retired or anything, but it was a nice little, looking back at the heritage of the sport and, Larry explaining that, I just had a roll of tape and it was easy to make an 11. I couldn't have one because I hadn't won the championship, and it's easy to make an 11 and, then I only have to keep one spare number and things like that. Always a pragmaticist is the word, something like that. Larry Perkins, always pragmatic. So it was nice how they did that handover. As suspected after what happened with Waters' qualifying lap at Bathurst, where he dragged a bit of shit onto the track when he made a mistake, they have changed the rules now. He's a big, long, blah, blah, blah kind of thing to read through it. Ridiculous, but essentially you can't do that anymore. Or you can't do it deliberately. So I think even what happened at Bathurst, Waters would probably still get away with it because it was an accident. So, yeah. There is talk about Triple Eight running a wildcard at Bathurst. One can only assume this is why Brock Feeney hasn't got a co-driver role at Bathurst yet. And who better to put beside him but Ange Mazouris, the Triple Eight's other Super 2 other Super 2 driver at the moment. That would make sense to pair the two of them up in the Great Race. Bit of an odd one there that they're looking to run wildcard, other than the fact that they might have the funding for it, because it does distract a bit. And then if you've got the guys, because Bathurst is a Super 2 round, as far as I know, it's still a Super 2 round because Bathurst was just, the 500 was just replacing Adelaide. So it's a bit of a strange one there because it's not like you're taking the Super 2 crew to work on the Bathurst wildcard, because you're probably going to want both of them probably going to want to run the Super 2 round there as well because they are in the hunt for the championship. So you've got to find crew and things like, are you going to stretch things a bit thin? when you want to try and... The rate they're going this year, though, I mean, you may as well just give all the trophies to Shane Van Gisbergen now. He's got the best Bathurst co-driver out there too. Yeah, I suppose they can't do anything wrong at the moment, so may as well run a wildcard and finish 1, 2, 3 on the podium at Bathurst. Now, there was some racing over the weekend. Boy, there was racing. It was actually pretty good racing all weekend. The Bathurst was a little bit... Sandown. Good kind of old school track. Throw some water on it as well and bang. Great racing. Complaint though, at the start of the weekend, knockout qualifying. This only happened for the Saturday. The first session, all 24 cars go out. We knock 4 out. Like, you can basically say it's going to be MSR and Techno Team Sydney, which I'd have to look back through the results, but it probably was pretty much, or, Jack Smith or McCullough Jones. You got 6 guys vying for those 4 positions. Unless something happens to someone else, it's going to be those. Then we dropped 10 in the next session, which that was a lot. What I would like to see them drop, say, you want 3 sessions, split it into 3. That's makes sense to me. So you would have 8, and then so 24 guys run, 16 guys run, 8 guys run. Then you're starting, if you've 16th, you're starting to get guys that could quite easily be in that top 8. So it just puts a bit of pressure on them. Like, essentially, I think it was Wingcup went out there, ran a banker lap, then the red flag came out, and you basically knew that he was going to be safe on that time. Whereas if you had the top 16, maybe in that first session, there's a little bit of pressure. And then it just puts a little bit of pressure to make that third session if there's only 8 guys going in as well. Plus, it does take a lot of congestion out of the track as well, dropping 8 from that. I don't quite... when they had that odd thing where you had 14 go out, and because the 10 from the practice session before were sweet and whatnot, that made a bit more sense the way they ran that. But now with 24 cars, I think they should be doing it more like that, so it is a bit more of a pressurized knockout in that first session. Because most of the guys were just one hand tied behind their backs. They were going to out qualify like a Gary Jacobson. I'll probably go back through the results and find out that Gary qualified 18th or something. But that's just my thought. Can you guys let me know, do you actually enjoy the knockout qualifying? Or to me, I probably prefer those kind of 10-minute all-out, and maybe tweak it just a little bit. Just give them just a fraction more time, like maybe 12 minutes or something like that at Sandown, so you can have more than just your standard 2 runs. Everyone just goes out, does 1 lap, comes back in, waits a few minutes, goes out, does a second lap. Maybe if you had just a little, maybe they could, bolt on an extra set or whatever and have a bit more of a crack or something. Down in the comments, let me know what you think. Saturday, the first race of the weekend, the dry race of the weekend. We all got a bit excited off the start. Frosty nearly went from 4th to 1st, and it was a very aggressive first lap from Mr. Winterbottom. Where's that guy been hiding? He didn't trouble it too much on Sunday, but he's been one of the surprises so far this year. He's doing pretty well, and I thought Scott Pye was going to dominate him this year. And he's just turned it around, and something's clicking there at the moment. Apparently they found issues with the car over Christmas that had kind of plagued him for a lot of last year. Who knows? He's going gangbusters at the moment. We did get to see a couple of different strategies in this race, which was really nice. Chaz, after dropping back off the start, he then went for the undercut strategy, stopped early and went blazing along by himself, came out in the lead and was actually looking pretty good until those last couple of laps, which was good to see. Everyone else kind of stopped in the middle and they were mowing him down. But then the bloke who qualified 17th with a busted, and let me tell you, like, this is getting better. I've got some movement in it. This isn't broken, and I mean, I'm supposed to be going away next weekend, and there's, I'll be fine to drive my car because it's an automatic, and I can, even if I have to use my right arm, I can hold the bottom of the steering wheel. I'm not, trying to save a 600 odd horsepower supercar going sideways and things like that. They went with the overcut strategy, so he had to go flat chat towards the end. A couple of guys probably could have put up a bit more of a fight towards the end, but Shane was coming through regardless. He was on fire. Seriously, after that drive, it's just like, hand him the cup now. This championship is done and dusted. Lots of parity talk as well already beginning. It's a hard one. Once again, we got all this parity talk, and the same problem we've had over the last year and forever, essentially. Scott was doing all the winning previously. It wasn't every Mustang that was dominating. Scott was still winning in a Falcon. So why do we, have to complain about parity the whole time? Shane's doing all of the winning. If you go through the results, I won't do it because it's fucking boring if I just read out results. But there seems to be, you've got Kelly's kind of within the pace. The Tickford cars, one of the Tickford cars really seems to be on the pace and things like that. And, Brody, which we'll get into that. It's not like it's just Commodore, Mustang kind of thing. It's, you go through Shane Van Gisbergen out on his own, and then it's, a bit of a mix coming back down. Race 2, we got to see, the heavens came down. It was a dismal day in Melbourne. Chaz got himself involved in some incidents. The first one with, it wasn't really an incident with Shane Van Gisbergen, but at the last corner, he overshot, ran off. He essentially got a bigger lead. It wasn't massive. Scaife going off, he's going to get a penalty, advantage and rah, and all this. And I was sat there and I'm thinking, wait a second. He was in the lead when he slid off. He might have got a second extra or something like that. It wasn't like, he ended up 10 seconds down the road or something like that. Wasn't like he overtook Shane and then ran off. He was in front when he ran off. It's a bit of a common sense prevailed. Craig Baird made the right call on this one. No further action. Let it go. Play on. Then we did see later on, the magnetism between Chaz and Cam Waters. They got turned up to 11 again, and Chaz bumped into him. Cam went pirouetting, got it back online. Chaz sat there and waited for Cam to take off again, then took off and then got swamped by the other guys. It was good to see Cam did not lose his second place through it all. And no harm. I mean, Mossad ended up losing a couple of positions over it, but, no harm from it all. That's all's fair in love and war, I suppose. Interesting, though, was those two again. Of course, Shane Van Gisbergen just went and dominated the race from pole position on that one. And then race 3, Chaz Mostert, broken throttle cable. Then Shane Van Gisbergen won, but Brody Kostecki, I think, who would like to replace Jamie Whincup? And Brody went, hello, do not forget about me. I'm here, please, Mr. Dane, Mr. and Mrs. Dane. Sounds a little bit incestuous, that one, doesn't it? You're just saying, like, look at me. I did say I thought Brody was going to be the first one to knock up a win. If maybe Shane Van Gisbergen sat out for his injury, maybe he would have had a win out of that. That was a great drive from a young fella. Funnily as well, Davy Reynolds was third on the podium, not in the same league as those two, but in a different league to all the other guys. So there's a little bit of tension there on the podium. Apparently there's a few smart-ass remarks between them about Barry Ryan and things like that. There was quite a few digs over the weekend and previously as well about Barry Ryan saying about how harmonious Erebus is and things like that at the moment. And a lot of people were predicting this, that was the downfall of Erebus. They're going to be nowhere. And to be honest, at the moment, I mean, Anton had that win in one of those soft tyre flash rounds. And granted, this was a wet race, so it's a little bit different to normal. But Will Brown, he only ended up 7th in that last race. But he was looking pretty good most of the day as well. And, these are two rookies as well. So, Erebus is actually looking stronger this year, which at the start of the year, even I thought they were going to struggle compared to what they've had the last few years. It's really working. That was really good. And good to see as well the Kelly team in general. Jaime looked the better of the two drivers most of the weekend, but Dave in that last race just had a really good day. Dick Johnson Racing were very anonymous all weekend. That was a bit weird. The results weren't too bad. As I get into, Davison is still 6th in the championship, which isn't. It is what it is. But they were just very anonymous. Like, they didn't look like threatening at all. Scott McLaughlin has got himself on their Twitters or whatever and posted, hey, even when I was there, we didn't do any good at Sandown, which is true. So, they hadn't. And really, their results at Bathurst, other than, the special engine and whatever days in the Mustang, not going to get into that right now. Their results, like Scotty had a very anonymous Bathurst last year, and I think it was 5th. They finished. There's nothing to sing and dance about. So what he has said essentially is, hey, Simmons Plains, we did. Even Fabian got some wins at Simmons. So base the guys on their Simmons results, not, the Bathurst and Sandown results, because, hey, we weren't that good at Sandown and Bathurst over the last few years anyway. So very strange that he felt the need to jump on, I think it was Twitter, and post something like that. Is this what it's all coming to? So no surprises after the weekend that we had. Shane Van Gisbergen is dominating the championship. He's got 605 points. The 5 points are because he had the fastest lap in one race. I'm not actually sure who got the fastest lap in the other races. Probably should have looked that up and put it in my notes. Anyway, I'll probably get some comments from some viewers. They're not happy because I didn't do proper research before. I'm not a journalist. I'm just an idiot who sits in front of a camera once a week. Anyway, Jamie Whincup, 2nd in the points. So hand the trophy to him now, because Jamie, his results, actually on the weekend when you look through, 2 podiums and a 4th, not bad. But he just didn't seem to. But if your worst position over the weekend is 4th, and really you look at it and you're like, did Jamie turn up? He's doing something right. Chaz is 3rd, 163 behind. Cam Waters is 4th, 170 points behind, and both of them have had some shocking races so far. Frosty in 5th, 194 behind, and we may as well, 6 below, you may as well write them off for the championship. Davison 228 behind, Jaime 279 behind, Percat 288 behind, Reynolds 289, and Brody is 10th, 292 behind. But essentially, when you say you're a round behind, you're out of the championship. Those guys, Jaime and below, really, they're nudging on that being a round behind after 2 rounds already. That's just the domination that Shane has had so far. So that's it for this week. For anybody who cares, it is on the mend a bit. I have got a little bit of movement in it. I've got my brace back on because I've been at work all day typing away at the keyboard and it was getting pretty sore, so this is to help it. The Red Bull t-shirt is a bit of, inflame some people, but it's got this nice little zip, so it's a lot easier to get over my head with my arm and stuff because it's still very difficult to dress myself. But I am on the mend. Don't think I'll be filling in for Shane Van Gisbergen or anyone anytime soon, though. I probably couldn't do it in the first place, but it's still quite painful to move. What can we say about the weekend other than just that was more impressive than what he did at Bat? That was just that was a masterclass from Van Gisbergen. He just made everyone else look second rate. I've seen some comments that, Jamie's just sandbagging so it doesn't look as... I think that's just something else from Shane. He's just on an absolute high at the moment. And unfortunately, Scott's not there to take the fight to him. So, part of me is a bit like, I hope Scott doesn't go very well in IndyCar and he can come back and, next year we have a real battle. But Scott's going to do well in IndyCar. Scott's amazing. So, we're just... Maybe if Brody gets the 888 seat, maybe he can take it to him next year, or hopefully some of these other guys can step up a bit. And it's not just an absolute whitewash of the season, because at the moment he won from 17th on Saturday. I mean, he could win every race for the year. So on that positive note, for anyone who's not a Shane Van Gisbergen fan, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.